The Nigerian Senate has approved the death penalty for illicit drug trafficking in the country. This followed a debate on the floor of the Senate during the third reading of the National Drug Law Enforcement Act 2024. News Central's Amadine Uyi reports.
It was a debate on the NDLA Act 2024 as part of the process for amendment. The act, which was being read for a third time, saw lawmakers make their final input on the amended act as the Senate dissolved into a committee of the whole.
Clause 17, dealing with exploitation of dangerous substances, is deleted as the provision of the Principal Act, Section 22, is contrary to the rule of double jeopardy, which generally prevent a person from being tried or punished twice on the same offense. As such, it is totally expunged from the Act.
As lawmakers reviewed the clause recommending the penalty for drug trafficking, a heated debate ensued over the decision to adopt the death penalty.
I am surprised that the committee is recommending a softer punishment. It was a life imprisonment. In fact, we should change it to death sentence. This is practiced everywhere in this country that are serious about dealing with drugs. So when we come to take it close by close, please, distinguished colleagues, let's change that section 11 to read death sentence, whether by hanging or whatever.
Death. We must be honest, transparent in the decision. I am accountable to my conscience and to my community. Death sentence is not a matter for a, nay or nay. Everybody should vote so that we will be counted. When it matters, those who vote for death and those who vote for punishment. No, you cannot. We take a vote. It's a fundamental issue. We are making law here. This is not a motion.
While some lawmakers wanted the Senate to adopt a life imprisonment penalty following a voice vote, the Deputy President of the Senate overruled their votes, saying their decision had come late. With this concluded, the Senate passed the bill for the third time. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
To discuss this further, I am joined on the news by Principal Partner Benita Law Firm, and independent resource person on security and justice issues, Ogu Ogechi. Thank you for joining me on the news. Now, let's talk about the death penalty. Being a severe punishment. Can you analyze the potential effectiveness of capital punishment in serving as deterrence to issues like drug trafficking compared to other approaches? How does this measure align with Nigeria's human rights obligations?
I'm breathing in deeply. I am shocked at this development because I was thinking we have passed this stage. Death sentence is no longer the way to go. It does not align with the human rights principles. Even in violent offenses, it is recommended, it's a UN recommendation that the states should not come down to the level of the violent persons in the societies. Killing somebody is quite violent. A state cannot be seen to be in the same space with violent offenders. So giving death sentence, you cannot take away. It is final, the person is gone, and there's nothing else that can be done about it. So a state should not be seen to be in that space. Then more so, there's a moratorium on death sentence, and it is expected that states should put on hold the execution of even persons that have already been convicted and execution. And it is quite unfortunate that Nigeria has made a headway, although we have not stopped, granting of death sentence already on existing laws. Yet Nigeria has gone ahead to make a little, improvement regarding this by having a provision in the Nigerian Correctional Service Act that says that those on death sentence that have not been executed, opportunities of appeal at both the the appeal and Supreme Court.
Now,
Yes,
of course, you've said
custody
quite a number of
should
things.
be-
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry to interject, but just to cut in there, the bill actually targets a range of offences related to drugs. Are there concerns that the application of the death penalty could be uneven or lead to unfair outcomes?
That sentence, I am even shocked that they lumped everybody, together in this, both traffickers and users of people now under the UN, the abuse of considered a public health issue. It is an issue of health should rather be subjected for treatment and not punishment. Going about drug users, although we agree that even those that traffic drugs can also be using the drugs, but that is the drug that is the trafficker of drugs. But from the bill as it is seen, they are lumping together drug users and drug traffickers. And I'm wondering what purpose if the punishment is given, because already we have filling our correctional centers already, so many persons that are on happened to them. And the world is looking at us, and the human rights torture for somebody to be sentenced to death, and the person has spent 20 years of
All right.
waking up every day and imagining that would be the last day of his life, without anything happening. That's why that new law made by the same.
Okay. Ogechi, I'm sorry to also, of course, interject here, but we're pressed for time. Quickly, you talked about human rights law. I mean, the death sentence on drug peddling is not peculiar, exclusively to Nigerians. Quite a number of Asian countries actually practice it, not just for drug peddling, even for, public office. And I mean, you were saying that Nigeria, could have explored all the alternatives. What other alternatives are there to actually address the root cause of this problem?
The whole essence of punishment is it should be to serve a purpose. The purpose is the purpose of reducing crime. And going by what is happening with even those Asian countries, the question is, has drug peddling stopped? The answer is no. So what we should be doing is to look at sentences that should serve the purpose of reducing crime and tightening of the system. We have laws at hand already. Why it is so, why we are where we are is that in terms of managing the system of corrections, our criminal justice system, there's a good challenge because the drug users equally have a lot of illicit funds with which they can compromise the security institutions and the agents in terms of getting them arrested and doing the needful. So what we need is a tighter system that can prevent the drugs from coming in, and not talking about death penalty, because there are ways justice at the long run. And what is happening now in terms of punishment, the expectation is that people should know that there is certainty of application of any sanction that has been put in place. But if the system is not functioning so well, and these people believe that they can slip out of the hands of the criminal justice system, whether you say you're giving them 10 times death at the same time, it will not happen. So what we should be targeting at is empowering and strengthening our criminal justice system to perform better, to do the needful in terms of implementing the laws, so that it will be clear that these people can be arrested. And if they're arrested, there can be a punishment. It's not just by saying death penalty, because it might not eventually solve the problem. And it's not putting us on the right focus, because all that has been achieved in the last periodic review Nigeria submitted, the fact of, committing death sentence to life in certain circumstances as one of the major achievements the country has made in the past. And if we talk about copying from other countries, what they are doing, there are so many other wonderful things that are happening in other countries in terms of employment opportunities, in terms of business, in terms of economic growth, in terms of the social life of the people, which we can copy. So we cannot just say Asian countries are giving death sentences. We rush and pick death sentences and start giving. Now, another thing is there should be a connectivity between laws. The same Senate that enacted the other law that is progressive in terms of human rights is the same Senate now that is going back to go and start, talking about death sentence for drug users, drug peddlers, and the rest of them. We should let our laws connect to one another so that we don't do one step forward and one step backwards.
All right, Ogu Ogechi, thank you so much for being with me on the news.
Thank you.
All right.